Good afternoon, everyone. This is Senate Education. It is Thursday, February 25th. We are in the process of hopefully cleaning up, making final edits, working toward resolving some last-minute questions on a number of different bills as we approach the end of the week and town meeting week, and then upon our return the last week before crossover. With that, we have Mr. Anderson with us for about 25 minutes or so. And so I thought we would take the time and look at the S26 again. This is the act relating to the working group of the status of libraries in Vermont and the Department of Libraries. The corner office knows that we'll be folding this, likely cultural liaisons, and feminine hygiene products into one miscellaneous education bill that we hopefully will be ready to vote tomorrow. We had a lot of conversations or a lot of testimony on libraries now a while back. I did receive an email from Senator Chittenden, and Senator Chittenden, I'm sorry to not putting you on the spot. If you need more time, please feel free to take it. But I do know that you sent me an email about a possible edit, possibly adding, a constituent had reached out to you about adding membership to this. And so this would be a good time after we hear just, if you wouldn't mind, Mr. Anderson, just a quick, again, 30,000 foot overview of what we're doing here would be helpful. We had a lot of testimony, and I don't think we're really in controversial territory, but it would be great if you could just review for us.
Sure. Good afternoon, Tucker Anderson with the Office of Legislative Counsel. The 30,000 foot view is that the bill would establish a working group consisting of 11 members that represent various levels and forms of libraries throughout the state. That would begin to investigate and eventually report on the status of libraries across multiple subjects, from programmings and collections to structural integrity of buildings. It's really a broad view of the status of libraries and their programs in Vermont. The process takes, I believe, around a year and a half before completion, and a report is given back to the General Assembly, both on the current overall status of Vermont libraries, specific findings related to those, the status of those libraries, and new additional pieces on the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic on Vermont's libraries. You heard some testimony from individuals who work in this area around what this could mean for Vermont's libraries and potentially an interconnected system moving forward once this kind of library census is complete. And that's the high level overview of what is happening. The latter sections of the bill deal with technical corrections and cleanup work around the printing and distribution of state publications and collections of the Department of Libraries. And that has been an area of Vermont statute that has been in flux, particularly over the last 6 years, as the roles of the state librarian, the Department of Libraries, the Board of Libraries, and the Vermont State Archives have been more refined and clarified.
Terrific. Any questions for Mr. Anderson? Senator Lyons.
So the bill that what we have before us is still the bill as introduced. We don't have any amendments or changes to that language yet.
That's correct. We don't have any amendments or changes yet. I believe Senator Chittenden is going to propose one, but that's where things stand right now. Senator Chittenden.
So I'm actually referencing an email all of us received. So it was sent to us from Kevin Unrath. He strongly supports this legislation. I can share the screen or just mention he has one strong recommendation of adding a board member from the Green Mountain Library Consortium. So I don't have any objections to that. It seems to be a reasonable request. Otherwise I'll re-forward this to all of you, but that was the email I think you're referencing, Senator Campion.
It is. Does anybody have any objections to that?
I don't know who they are, so, but I don't object. I mean, if Senator Chittenden is recommending it, it's got to be good.
Oh, jeez, great.
Do-
Senator Hooker, please.
Does Senator Chittenden know who they are?
So I do know Kevin Unrath. He
Okay.
is and he is the director of the Pearson Library in Shelburne and the president of the Vermont Library Association. So he seems very well informed of the matter. I'm going to re-forward this email to all of you right now.
Okay, and the Green Mountain Library Consortium, I assume, is a group of libraries, but I'm just curious to know who they are.
It includes a link to their website.
Thank you.
Let me, Mountain Library. Yes, there is a link, and I'm just pulling it up just so we can get a little bit information in real time.
I know that the name is printed on my library card, so I can be helpful saying that.
That's all the testimony I need to hear then, Mr. Anderson. Yeah, it does look like is just that. It's the consortium of libraries. It looks like just briefly, but we can dig more into it for the state of Vermont. And it looks like there are different ways to share materials, order materials, things like that at a quick glance. Let's see. Yeah, so that's what I'm gleaning from it.
I see that it's 15 libraries dealing with audio books, sharing of audio books.
I'm going to say, why don't we see if we can get, is it Kevin? Senator, is first name Kevin? Yeah.
Kevin Unrath is who the
Yeah, why don't we see if we can get Kevin in for about 5 minutes. If you would email him, Jeannie, that would be great. We can get him in later today.
I'm
If
sorry,
not-
Senator, I was otherwise occupied, so I didn't catch who you're at.
So we have a request to hear from, I believe he's the director of the Library Consortium in Vermont. Senator Chittenden will send you an email that will have his email in it. If you would see if he might be available sometime this afternoon for about 5-10 minutes, that would be great as we're looking at S3rd 26. If not, maybe find 5 or 10 minutes tomorrow.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
We also had an email from Mr. Broughton in testimony about the 2 assistant librarian that, I guess the Department of Libraries had asked for 2 assistant librarians to add to the working group study. And he wasn't here when, I think, in the committee when they suggested that. So he sent an email suggesting that, that he supported that. So I didn't know if you wanted to address that request.
No, thanks. I appreciate you raising it. So this would be adding, would you mind reiterating? I do remember seeing an email exchange. But do you mind reiterating what his request is?
Yeah, it says, additionally, there is a request by the Department of Libraries to include the 2 assistant librarians into the working group study bill. And then he lists the reasons. The 2 assistant state librarians should be members of the committee because of the services that the Vermont Department of Libraries provides in each of their areas and at the heart of the study bill. He goes on to talk about why he thinks they should be added. So I don't know if we could also try to get Mr. Boughton on, or.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to also email him. I appreciate you bringing this up very much. And would you also, Jeannie, ask Mr. Boughton to come back in this afternoon or tomorrow as we make our way with this? My only reservation in all of this is it's starting to get to be a very, very big committee. But I think we'll give these folks the opportunity to make their case and see if see if the committee wishes to grow it. I mean, I think right now, Mr. Anderson, I don't know if you know off the top of your head, but I think we're getting up somewhere to like 15 members or something like that.
If you added the members that are being requested, it would be 14. And that was one of the notes I was going to have about adding new members, is whether you want to have an even or odd numbered working group. I don't know if it matters because they're not a legislative body, but that could put some lock in the voting on certain issues in the report.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point. I mean, I, for one, would lean toward having it odd, but we'll see what direction the committee wants to go in. Anybody want to hear from anyone else on libraries, or do we feel as though we're in pretty good shape? We'll hear from those two individuals, and we'll see if Jeannie can get them in this afternoon, later this afternoon.
Senator Campion, will you see the chat that I just sent you, please?
Sure. Yeah, Jeannie, we're looking to have Mr. He was a former witness. If you look under S26, the library bill, you'll see a Mr. Boughton. I think that's how it's pronounced. Boughton, perhaps. Thank you. If you would ask him to come in this afternoon for about 10
Sorry,
minutes.
can you repeat his name?
Sure. It's Boughton. I believe it's Boughton. You'll
Oh,
find
yes.
under S26.
He's the state librarian, I believe.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Just put it in the chat.
Great. Thank you, Senator Perchlich. Great. So I think with that, with those final questions still outstanding, any other concerns with libraries and S26? Okay, seeing none, we will then hear from those individuals later today, hopefully, and hopefully fold that into the miscellaneous education bill. Another part of miscellaneous education, Mr. Anderson, thanks very much. Appreciate you being here, especially from your remote location. If you're comfortable in trusting of us, of me in particular, I can loop back to you after we hear from these individuals to let you know what the edits might be. I don't think there's any need for you to come back at this point, knowing particularly that you have a busy afternoon ahead of you.
Thank you for having me in, and I do trust you, so I'll wait for your word. Thank you all.
All right, thanks a lot, I appreciate it. So S32, we also have heard now some real testimony, significant testimony on this. This is feminine hygiene products and school wellness. Many of you probably saw that Senate Finance passed out a bill yesterday, also on feminine hygiene products, removing the tax from them. Seems like a great bill. Really appreciate Senator Lyons' leadership on this. I'm wondering if Senator Hooker would raise, not to put you on the spot, but Senator Hooker, would you raise your request on this so that we can have a little committee discussion before we leave for the joint assembly?
I received a request to change the term feminine hygiene products to menstrual products, primarily because it seemed that to say hygiene indicated something unclean. So I just passing that on as a request. And would,
share from whom the request came.
it was from Gail Zatz. Who
Is that a constituent?
She is a mom.
Great.
And
Great. Okay. Important. No, thank you. I appreciate that. Senator Lyons, I'm looking to you on this for your input and your thoughts.
I think it's a great idea.
Great.
Right. I mean, the history of women in science and nursing is just rampant with prejudice against menstruation. So I think making sure that it appears as what it is, something natural, and clean is very important. So thank you, Senator Hooker.
Yeah, and please thank, is it Ms. Zach as well as for bringing it forward. Committee, any discussion on that or any concerns? Otherwise, Mr. Demarais will make that edit throughout the bill. Right. Okay, so we will fold that also into miscellaneous education. The final piece with miscellaneous education is the cultural liaisons bill that Senator Rahm and many people of this committee put forward. We've heard some testimony. I do have an email, or Jeannie has an email into a cultural liaison. I don't think we've heard back from her yet, but hopefully we'll hear back from her and she can come in later today or tomorrow.
Senator Campion, she is on the agenda for this afternoon, and I have heard from her.
Terrific. So she's, okay, great. I just saw invited, so I didn't know if she was
Yeah,
definite.
I only
Great.
just heard from her.
Wonderful. So we hopefully will be able to talk directly to a cultural liaison this afternoon and fold what I think is a really great, great bill into miscellaneous education. I do recognize miscellaneous education is going to have a lot of good work that is coming from 3 key senators. And I will point that out when we get to the floor that really this, and a lot of this is really the Lyons-Rahm-Hardy bill. When this kind of thing happens, I just don't want to lose the recognition and the work that these individuals have put into this kind of thing. So I appreciate their flexibility in allowing us to move in this direction. Anything else before we take a break? When we return, we will pick up literacy and our edits on that. And then we will also hear from our cultural liaison, I believe is from Winooski, but I don't recall. Anything else? Okay, Senator Perchlich was in the building today in our committee room, and it was good, great. Nothing to report there. All right, well, thanks everybody. We'll see everyone, let's say 10 minutes after the fall of the gavel in the assembly, and we'll return to Mr. Demarais. And Mr. Demarais, that works for your schedule?
It does, yeah.
Great, thanks so much. Okay, I think we can, I think we'll, Jeannie, do you want us to log off and then log back in?
Please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Senate Education on Thursday, February 25th. We're going to pick up with the literacy bill and the edits that Mr. Demarais was kind enough to make. Many edits, but when having read it earlier today, still, I think good stuff, and I think we're getting close to hopefully being able to vote this out maybe tomorrow when we vote out school discipline as well as miscellaneous education bill. It does look like the week we return, we are going to be particularly busy with, we're getting a bill from the Agriculture Committee on school lunches. We also have H81. Senator Cummings and I are talking about what she would like to do in particular, since it's a tax issue, with the weighting study. And we also have to get Senate appropriations and after school bill with some guidelines on it. So, and I could be missing, I suspect I'm missing 1 or 2 things. So with that, Mr. Demarais, thanks for joining us. If you wouldn't mind taking us through things. And please, senators, jump in when you have questions or comments so we can kind of continue the editing mode.
Okay. Jeannie, can I share the screen?
You can. You are co-host.
Great, thank you. Let's see right here. Okay. Is that big enough for people? Can you see that? Oh, too big now. How's that? Is that good?
Let's see. Looks good to me.
Okay, good. Okay, so for the record, Jim Damer, this console, we're walking through draft 5.3 of your literacy bill. As Chair Campion mentioned, there are a number of changes here to go through. So let's begin with the first change.
I believe page
Okay.
3.
So we're on, well, on page, I can't see page numbers on this, but
I believe
we are
it's
in
3, yeah.
section 3 of the bill. I'm sorry?
Page 3.
Page 3, okay. So we are on the part of the bill that talks about the administration of the grant program and the determination by AOE of which supervisory districts and unions are eligible for the grant. And the guidance given here is that the secretary shall take into account the following factors across applicants. And 4 is new or different. It says discrepancies in outcome data on literacy for students from historically underserved populations, including to the extent that data is available in compliance with privacy laws to our Black, Indigenous, and people of color and students on individualized education programs. So that's the change there to the criteria. Then we have a section on agency staffing. So it reads, the following position is created in the Agency of Education, 1 full-time director level classified position to serve as the statewide literacy coordinator in the office of the secretary. There's appropriation for that from the general fund of $150,000 to support salary benefits and operating expenses.
Any questions there? Anybody from what we've covered so far? Senator Perchlich? No? Okay. My only question, Jim, is that's a sort of the standard salary? Is that if we
usually I see something like 130 maybe.
Okay.
I put 150 because it's a senior position, so I don't know. I think the agency will have to testify on that.
Sure. We'll have a look at that. Okay, great. Thank you. Please go on.
Section 5. Now, yesterday, Secretary French mentioned this section of law, 2903, which I wasn't even aware of. And having become aware of it, I've realized that it doesn't really fit with your construct because you are talking about literacy, and this is talking about reading. So I wanted to propose to you to amend this section to fit more into your construct. So, so it reads, statement policy, literacy proficiency is critical to success in learning. Children who fail to attain age-appropriate literacy proficiency by the end of first grade will likely fall further behind in school. The personal and economic costs of literacy proficiency failure are enormous both while the student remains in school and long afterward. The students need to receive systematic literacy instruction in the early grades from the teacher who is skilled in teaching literacy through a variety of structural strategies that take into account the differing learning styles and language backgrounds of the students. Some students may require an intensive supplemental instruction tailored to the unique difficulties encountered. And then B reads, Foundation for Literacy, the State Board of Education, in collaboration with the Agency of Human Services, Higher Education, literacy organizations, and others shall develop a plan for establishing a comprehensive system of services for early education in pre-K through grade 3 to ensure that all students attain literacy proficiency by the end of the third grade. The plan should be updated at least once every 5 years following its initial submission in 1998. And then C is literacy instruction. A public school that offers instruction in any of pre-kindergarten through grade 3 shall provide highly effective, evidence-based literacy instruction to all students. In addition, a school shall provide supplemental literacy instruction to any enrolled student in grade 4 whose reading proficiency falls below third grade reading expectations. I probably should say literacy expectations, as defined under subdivision 164.9. Supplemental literacy instruction to any enrolled student in grades 5 through 12 whose literacy proficiency creates a barrier to the student's success in school, and support and information to parents and legal guardians. And then I've added, as used in this section, evidence-based literacy instruction means reading, writing, and spelling instruction that is supported by high-quality research. That means rigorous standards and is proven to translate effectively to classroom practices, which is the definition that was provided yesterday by Chelsea. Great pause there.
Senator Perchlich.
Yeah, does AOE have such a plan that's mentioned in 9305? Do we know?
It would be the state board, and according to Secretary French, they have not been keeping it up to date.
Okay.
Senator Campion?
Yeah, Senator Lyons.
Oh, it's Hooker.
Oh, sorry. Senator
Hooker's
Lyons.
first, Senator Hooker's first.
Okay, go ahead, Senator.
Yeah, the plan was updated in 2009, I believe. But my question is about the evidence-based programs. And were we going to specifically say something about the multi-tiered system? That
Believe that
I don't know.
was-
Was that included?
It might be further in the bill, or we,
Oh, okay.
It is.
I'm
in-
not sure.
Yeah, let's take a look. We can look at maybe after we go through this if it's not mentioned. I remember seeing it in an earlier draft, and I thought even.
I'm missing it here.
Right here. So, in terms, this is in terms of
Jim, we're losing you. Just
the.
so you know.
Oh, there it is.
Oh,
multi-tiered.
sorry. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Now we can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, but this is in the context of the agency determining who will be getting grants. So, one of the criteria is the extent to which they have teacher professional development integrated with the multi-tier system of supports. So, this is in connection with the grant. So, you might want to do something more with that in the section we just went through.
I just didn't know if, when talking about evidence-based, if it would be helpful to have language that pointed to multi-tiered systems. And frankly, I don't know if that is even on the same plane with evidence-based. I'm not sure how that fits in, but I'm glad that it's in there where it is. So.
Okay.
So Jim, in this section, we're asking, so just to confirm, VS 16 VSA 2903, this is what we're amending in section 5.
Correct. Yep.
And this is, okay. Yep, I see it. Okay.
Okay.
Yep. Any other questions? Senator Lyons, please.
Not a question. It does follow up on what Senator Hooker, I was going to talk about the difference between evidence-based and evidence-informed. And I think having evidence-based is absolutely key. It's a very high standard. It's a higher standard than just having some support. in the literature. So, and I wish that the literacy experts were here again with us, because I guess we're identifying the right way to put our literacy programs in place in the state. I'm just curious as to how many evidence-based literacy instructional programs are out there. It's just a question, but this is a very high standard. It's not, it isn't a matter of an emerging area or having some evidence, but it's solidly demonstrated in the research. It's research-based.
This reminds me, Senator Lyons, do you remember us having this debate on the Senate floor? I think something to do even with PFOA, or there was something that you were.
Yeah, it was similar. It was related.
Yeah.
So we need to know that this program, or what we're recommending, is solidly supported in the research. I can't imagine anyone questioning it, actually, but but I think it's important for us to know that this is a very high, good standard.
Yeah. Senator Perchlich?
Yeah, it's just a general question, maybe basically for Jim. Last year, was the last year or the year before, we spent all that time in the committee delineating the different responsibilities and obligations of the board and AOE, and we split them all up. And I assume when we did that, we also went through other parts of the title and made sure everything was lined up. Is this, as far as you know, this is still what we wanted the board to be doing, as far as the 2903 language about the plan being done by the board and not by the agency?
Well, that bill that would restructure the responsibilities between AOE and the State Board of Education did not progress past the Senate, right? So that has not been done yet. So this doesn't change who's responsible for this from what's currently in statute. So it might be changed if that restructuring bill passes. Okay. Maybe this will flip over to the agency, but at this point that hasn't happened.
Okay, thank you. I'd forgotten that it didn't. Once it passes out of this committee, I just assume everybody's going to agree.
Okay. So then we have a new section.
Jim, we're losing you again there. I don't know if it's your.
So I'm not sure why. I'm right against my microphone.
Yep. Now we've got you.
Can you hear me now?
Yep. Perfect.
Okay. Okay. It says my internet connection is unstable.
Well, that's what it sounds like. Yeah. I had it yesterday.
Okay. So we have a new section, which is 2903A. So this is the Advisory Council on Literacy. And the council shall advise the agency, state board, and General Assembly on how to improve proficiency outcomes in literacy for students in pre-K through grade 12 and how to sustain those outcomes. Membership, I kind of made this up a little bit. I heard what people said yesterday. So, but 18 members I have here. So you have the statewide literacy coordinator. That's the new position at the agency. A member appointed by the Standards Board, who is knowledgeable in licensing requirements for teaching literacy, appointed by the Standards Board. A rep appointed by the Vermont Curriculum Leaders Association. And then you have the V's. So you got superintendents, you've got the school board, you've got special education administrators, Vermont Principals Association, Vermont Independent Schools Association, Vermont NEA. And then you've got 4 teachers appointed by the NEA who teach literacy, one of whom shall be a special education literacy teacher, and at least 2 of whom shall teach literacy to students in pre-K through grade 3. You have 2 family members, guardians or education surrogates of students who struggle or have struggled with literacy proficiency, formed by the Vermont Family Network. 2 student representatives who struggle or have struggled with literacy proficiency, appointed by the Vermont Family Network. And 1 member appointed by the Vermont Legal Aid Disability Law Project. So before I go on,
Yeah.
should I pause there?
Yeah, please. Committee, I guess if I may, I'm still kind of relatively new to some of this committee, and I'm just wondering, the Vermont Family Network isn't a group I know. So could you say something about that group, Jim?
I can't. I don't know that group either. It came in through Chelsea's testimony yesterday.
I do.
Oh, you do? Okay, great.
Yeah, I do. So the Vermont Family Network is about, I don't know when it was. I was on their board. I've been on their board as when it was
Okay.
parent to parent. And then it merged with VPIC, and VPIC worked directly with kids with learning disabilities. And Vermont Family Network works with families who have children with disabilities and inborn errors. Or genetic disorders, Down syndrome, and so on. So they have a lot of experience working with families and children, and they understand this area. It's not like the Stern Center, but it certainly is a group that understands the children and their parents and the needs for providing support and education.
So you would endorse having them involved?
I would. And
great.
the person who's currently the executive director is Pam McCarthy. Her son is in the
Oh, yeah.
house, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. But Pam is, if you needed someone to talk with, she's always readily available.
Terrific.
Yeah.
May I also just raise the question, some of you might have more experience in this than I, 2 student representatives who are struggling or have struggled. Is this 2 10-year-olds? Is it 2? I'm just wondering how do you kind of give direction? I don't know if Senator Perchlich, if you've been involved in creating a committee on ed, or if Senator Lyons through Health and Welfare, where you've had children really on committees. Senator Perchlich?
Well, I assume they'd be high schoolers that kind of went through the process of having the difficulty and having some experience. But yeah, I wouldn't have a minor,
Right.
Really under 16 probably on there. But we've seems like it's a trend to try to get student voice. It's also a way to, not only get the student voice or youth voice on these committees, but sort of mentoring them and being members of the community in these kind of activities. So I think it's a good idea.
It's
I don't know
very
if,
much civic education, really. Yeah.
right. And I don't know if the family network is good for that too, or not, but I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good idea too. I'm wondering if that should be, whether we're saying student representatives, that would suggest to me high school seniors, maybe juniors. But I also think young adults who may have made it through high school and are on their way somewhere, either in employment or college. So
I like that. Would senators feel comfortable 2 student representatives or recent high school graduates?
yeah,
Okay.
I like that.
You would say high school
High
or
school
recent
students.
graduates.
High school.
Students.
I'm sorry, you cut in and out at Senator Perchlich.
High school students or recent high school graduates.
That sounds great. Yeah, sounds great. Senator Perchlich.
Well, I was just going to say, I'm also okay having the Secretary of AOE appoint the students. But if people feel strongly that the Vermont Family Network is the right way, I'm okay with that. I don't know them.
I don't think the Vermont Family Network is appropriate for appointing the students.
Okay. And are you comfortable, Senator Lyons, if we move it to AOE?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
I think it would, I don't know who suggested VFN.
I think that might also have been Chelsea, according to Mr. Demarais, possibly. But
Uh,
I think we could keep. Think we could do the Secretary of Education.
yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Anything else on the committee makeup? All right.
Great.
Seeing none.
Okay, so then we go on to
Can
powers.
I ask a question?
Please.
What's the total number? Because some of these are 2 and some are 4 and some are 1.
I think we
18.
have 18.
So it's not an odd number. We're gonna
No.
get a tie vote.
All right. Should we? Let's see. We could solve that.
Are there any ex officio people?
No, but this is an advisory council, not really a task force that's going to vote something
Yeah.
out. Just to mention,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Okay.
We'll let them get hung up.
All right.
Okay, so we go on to the powers and duties. So the council shall advise the agency, state board, and you on how to improve proficiency outcomes in literacy for students in pre-K through grade 12, and how to sustain those outcomes, and shall, 1, advise the State Board of Education on how to update the statewide literacy plan required under section 2903 of this title and maintain that plan. 2, advise the Agency of Education on what services the agency should provide to school districts to support implementation of the plan and on staffing levels and resources needed at the agency to support the statewide literacy coordinator. 3, develop a plan for collecting literacy-related data that informs literacy instructional practices, teacher professional development in the field of literacy, what proficiencies and other skills should be measured through literacy assessments, and how those literacy assessments are incorporated into local assessment plans. And D, how to identify school progress in achieving literacy outcomes, including closing literacy gaps for students from historically underserved populations. So those are the, and 4, review literacy assessments outcomes and provide ongoing advice as to how to continually improve those outcomes and sustain that improvement. So I paused here.
Please. Yes, please. I'm sorry to put you on the spot here, Senator Lyons, but you've been involved with making committee makeup and level of expertise sometimes needed to get somewhere. So I'm just, it's not all on you, but I'm hoping you can just have a careful look at this, as others too. I just, we're setting forward here, a bit of an ambitious agenda for everyone. And I just want to make certain that we have the level of expertise in the group to
I wonder if so you're not going to like what I'm going to do, but I'm circle back to the VFN, Vermont Family Network.
Yeah.
And so maybe the AOE in consultation with the Vermont Family Network, because they do a lot of literacy counseling. At least one part of their group does that. Then you've got a check and a balance on AOE. But I think the expertise is there. I think the council has a lot of
And as I look at this, of course,
power.
it's also being led, or the chief member, if you will, is the new statewide literacy coordinator, who will be able to use the agency as and the resources of the agency to advance this work.
Yeah. So I'm also thinking if the agency is appointing too many of the panel members, then you're going to get some consistent ideology. I don't know how, you want to have people have varied experiences so that they can make varied, rich
Yeah.
advice, give rich advice.
So with that being said, where are you looking, suggesting, and where are you looking to edit?
I didn't hear you. The plane went over.
Oh, I did hear that.
It's still going. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so where are you thinking about editing that?
I wasn't. The only part I was going to edit was on that membership where we absolutely took out Vermont Family Network. You could say appointed by AOE in consultation with Vermont Family Network. That keeps them linked in. And I think they probably should be.
We
but they
have,
don't- Go
yep,
ahead.
we have them responsible for the 2 family members completely. And
Okay.
then what we had done is just given AOE.
Oh yeah, they're right there.
Is that okay?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So we definitely did not eliminate them. So I think we'll keep that as is. Any other questions about the responsibilities? I'm looking here. Senator Perchlich, Senator Chittenden, Senator. Okay. Okay, Jim.
Okay, good. All right. So now we're on the report. So this is a permanent council. So it's going to be an annual report by December 15th of every year to you with its findings and recommendations for legislative action, progress toward outcomes identified in this section, and recommendations for priorities for the biennium. The meetings are up to 8 times a year. Assistance comes from AOE. Compensation is standard language. Then you have an appropriation of $10,000 for the per diem and reimbursement for these members. And you have a requirement that the agency will include that amount in its annual budget request. So it'll automatically be baked into the budgeting process. Then 9 says, on or before December 1 of this year, the state board shall, in collaboration with the Advisory Council on Literacy, update the statewide literacy plan required under Section 2903. And Section 10 is on the teacher preparation programs. So now it says the agency, in collaboration with the Centers Board, shall review teacher prep programs to assess to what extent these programs prepare teacher candidates to use evidence-based literacy instruction and licensing and relicensing criteria as it pertains to literacy instruction. And then we have the same definition as before of evidence-based literacy instruction. And then that hasn't changed. You have a few reports coming in by the agency, and that's it.
Senator Lyons, and then Senator Perchlich.
No, let Senator Perchlich go first. She's much more knowledgeable in all this. Seriously, go ahead.
I had a suggestion on the report.
Yeah.
On page 9, line 4. Part of that, I didn't really understand the last part of that, says, and recommendations for priorities for the biennium, but it's an annual report. So,
okay, yeah.
So I would
probably should come out.
Yeah, I would just strike that last clause because they're doing recommendations for legislative action. I guess they might have other recommendations that aren't legislative action, but we had a discussion in transportation about reports, because we got a report that was 152 pages that we were given the Agency of Transportation a hard time about, but I don't know if I've ever seen this. So maybe the senior senators and Jim, tell me if we ever do this where we also ask for like a 2-page executive summary, or shall include an executive summary of no more than 2 pages, because sometimes they just get, we want to read these, but when we get several of them and they're all 60 to 180 pages, and somewhere in there are the recommendations, it's just not as helpful. And then nobody reads them. And then the people that do the work complain that they're doing the work, but nobody reads them. Does that make sense? Is it?
Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense.
So my suggestion was we say something about the, shall submit the written report, and it shall include an executive summary with the recommendations, and be of no more than 2 pages.
So what if the whole report, though, is 7 pages?
Right. Well, it says no more than 2 pages. So they could do an executive summary of 2 pages and have a report that's 4 pages. It's
Yeah.
follow the statute, but it would be
It can only be 6.
hopefully well, I assume that I assume the executive summary is in the report too. So sometimes you don't need it if it's a 2-page report. So I'm not sure how to word it, but that's my concern, is wondering if we could make it so it's more usable for legislators.
So I have another question, but following up on that one.
Yeah.
To include legislative recommendations. If we just put that in, then it, I don't know, it's advisory to AOE, right? So do we want, it's
to us, and it says recommendations for legislative action.
yeah, okay, so that's good. All right, well, so can I ask my question?
Yes, please. Just before we leave that, though, Jim, would you mind looking at some language, seeing if that you've seen that language that Senator Perchlich is looking for and something else? Is there a way for us to, it's a very good point. We get these massive documents sometimes, and, how can we give necessary direction in statute around how they should be authored, curated? If you wouldn't mind just looking around to see if you can find something on that.
Sure. Yeah.
Senator Kitchell had some language, and I don't know if she was just making it up off the top of her head, but it sounded like they had done it before.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah, if you want to check with Approx, who is there in Approx? Stephanie Barrett may know of something.
Or Chrissy Gilhooly might be able to help
And
too.
Christy Gilhooly. Okay. Senator Lyons.
Yes, so I'm looking at the section on the teacher preparation.
Yes.
And so they're doing the review to identify whether or not whether these programs have evidence-based literacy instruction. And then that information is going to go to the General Assembly, because obviously it'll be coming in as a report. That's question mark. It's a review. It's not a report.
Yep.
Will this be included in the report? That's a question.
Good
And
question.
then the other thing is that it might be, well, I guess it's premature to have any information coming from this particular group going to any of the institutions of higher education, but somehow it needs to become useful. It's one thing to have a review.
It's a great point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's a
think
great point.
It could
Thank
be
you.
a exercise in futility otherwise.
Right. How would committee members feel about it coming and going to House and Senate Education and asking to include in there? Well, let's start there. Having it come to the 2 committees.
Yes.
I mean, AOE is going to be doing it in consultation with the State Board of Professional Educators, so they'll have it. But I think Senator Lyons' point's a very good one. So they have it. What are they going to do with it? But if they give it to us, they're directing it to us, then we would have it to to assess and come up with a plan of action.
The question also is, if they're doing that review, there's not any fiscal analysis around, there's probably shouldn't be for the initial review, but there may be some costs embedded in what comes out of this. So costs for new faculty development at the college or university level. I mean, so I see opportunity here to learn a little bit about what's happening in those pre-service programs.
But wouldn't that have to take place after the recommendations? I mean, I think
Yeah,
Senator
that's what I'm
Campion's
saying.
idea to bring it back to the committees and then be
That's
directing.
exactly what I'm saying. So you wouldn't want to put it in here, wouldn't want to be up front. But if it doesn't go anywhere, if it only goes to the AOE, and as much as we love the AOE, it would be great to have it come to us and generate some discussion.
Yeah, and then I think your point's a good one. What would that look like once it comes to us? How, if we need to work with appropriations, if let's say we realize our state colleges need, as Senator Lyons is saying, a faculty member or to boost things up, that we can maybe work with the state colleges around possibly granting additional funds or helping them to rework their department, depending, on the need. Senator Perchlich.
I wondered about the reports required in section 11. Jim hasn't got there yet, maybe. So, and I wondered if that we could just highlight the review done in section 10 as just reiterating that it needs to be part of that report, or do we see those reports that are in section 11? It seems like if they followed that, they would include the review, but we might want to spell it out in there.
So just to be clear, we have a report of the council coming to you, right, every year.
Yep.
And the council is the one that reviews the data, and and then the other report in here is section 11, which is the agency reporting to the General Assembly. It's finds recommendations under this act broadly, and progress and purpose. And then 2 more reports coming to you in the 2 future years on statewide progress. So all these reports are coming to you.
But what about section 10, that report, where as is written, is that report going anywhere?
Section 10.
That's the section, Jim, on teacher preparation program.
Yeah, so that is done by the agency, and under 11.
Okay, that's what I think Senator Perchlich's point was.
They're going to report to you under this act, so that's going to include section 11. So anything that they're doing under this act, they're going to be reporting to you, right, on December 15th of this year.
So it's fair to say that we don't need specific language in section 10 directing anyone, since section 11 picks that up.
That's how it's meant to be. That's how it's intended. Yes.
Okay.
But it's clear enough is a different question.
Senator Lyons, what do you think?
Oh, as long as we get it, it's
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask a question about the council? And
Absolutely.
Jim, you said that this is an ongoing council, but it ends in 23.
No, it never ends.
It never ends. So that begs the question then, what about terms for members of the council, and who determines that? Is that something that the council itself does, or do we?
I'll tell you, Senator Hooker, this is why we're paying you. That is a very good question.
There you go.
Very good question. I mean, yeah, if it goes,
And there is a date of appointment by which they must be appointed, and a date by which they must first meet, and who elects the chair. I forgot all that in there.
Yeah. So they have to.
that, but There's nothing, and especially with students. I mean, if kids are graduating, how long?
Right, we don't want a 92-year-old who started on the council as a middle school student.
Hey, yeah,
I think
Well-
it's a really good point. It's going on. So I think some of this, and Mr. Desmarais, correct me if I'm wrong, will be, I think getting to the point of, is it every 2 years or that kind of thing, I think is important. It seems like unless there's something in statute that would automatically take over and people could reference while they're building their committees around term limits or term length of terms.
Yeah, so
Limits.
begs the question too whether you want to have staggered terms. So you have continuity with people coming on and off. If you did staggered terms, you probably want to have a longer term. So for example, the UVM board they have 6-year terms. The students have 2-year terms, and the ones with 6-year terms are staggered. So there's like 3 different sets. So they're kind of rolling on and off at different times.
and obviously the literacy specialist will be there and be there until they're not the literacy specialist anymore.
And none of these people are here because of their function. So you've got like all these the V's, for example, they obviously are just whoever's in that position will be in that position.
Right.
So the ones we're talking about really are the teachers, the family members, the students, the member appointed by the aid disability law group, and maybe this member appointed by the Centers Board. So you got some member.
Yeah, what if we were to follow the state board policy? What is the state board policy for members?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind looking at that, I think your point's a very good one, that some of these executive directors will be on there, and they should be on there to play a role in this discussion. And then maybe just for consistency purposes, we find out what the state board is. Or also, Jim, I suspect we have other similar or other advisory councils in statute. So let's not sort of remake something that is probably already out there. I'm thinking Fish and Wildlife, Natural Resources. There are some advisory councils that we might look to just to see how they handled it.
Okay.
AHS has a whole bunch of.
AHS has a whole bunch. Okay.
I wonder if just thinking about not having the kids get appointed and then stay until they're 50, that maybe there's something to be said for each of the different types of members. So as you said, we could just say that all of the members of the council representing organizations, they're not going to turn over. They're going to be there forever. The people might be different, but the position is the same. But then when you get down to, I've lost it, the kids,
Or the teachers.
two family members,
Yeah.
And something about just identifying those number 10, 11, 12, 13, or whatever, and simply say that they can be appointed for 2 consecutive 6-year terms, or 2 consecutive 4-year terms. And then somehow there has to be some kind of grace note for them. If they're highly effective and necessary, you want to be able to reappoint them. But so I think Jim will do a great job with us.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, Senator Perchlich.
I wanted to make the suggestion that the statewide literacy coordinator be named as the chair instead of saying that the chair would be elected. Because I want AOE to kind of take responsibility of this whole effort and be, really engaged. Because even though that person will be on the council, there's nobody else from the agency on there, or whatever we're calling it, task force. So I would hate for somebody else to be nominated and then, I don't know, I just think.
I think you're absolutely right. If, if little Brian Jr. had been on it at 15 and made chair, it would have been a disaster. So I think but if you're right, and it should be, we should have in there that the statewide literacy coordinator from the agency is the chair. I think you're absolutely right. We need to, that gives him or her the opportunity to work with, their counterparts in the agency. It's access to dollars. It's access to moving these things around. And nobody else really would have that kind of ability or access and to do all those things. So I think you're absolutely right.
The council could not elect a vice chair.
Mm-hmm.
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 Yep. So Jim, you don't mind looking into seeing, I don't think we have a ton of changes, but I think there are a few, particularly, and please, if you need any assistance, I think reaching out to Chrissy Gilhooly is a good suggestion from Senator Lyons around language that maybe Senator Kitchell has used that we can incorporate into how annual reports come out. And then also just looking into maybe what the Agency of Health or other organizations have done around these kinds of councils, permanent councils, and what membership looks like and how it sort of rolls.
Yeah. Okay.
I was wondering, Amran Abijali is the new counsel for GovOps, and then, darn, Betsy Ann Rask is gone, but
Oh, right.
yeah, they write about this. They write commission stuff all the time.
Yeah. Great. Anything else? I'm not interested in rushing. I'm planning on having us vote on S16 and the miscellaneous, but let's keep working on this. What we could do is mark up in possible vote, but recognizing there's still some time to and some things that need to be changed. Senator Chittenden.
Not to double back too far, but I want to ask a new guy question. The 150,000. I just, in my experience with these types of things, it seems I would love to know if that's common practice to put the salary cap expectation inside a statute. It seems like it would put the state at a negotiating disadvantage. But I'm the new guy, and so I'm just wondering if it might be better to just refer to a classification, director status, and then allow the Agency of Education to determine terms based on the candidates before them.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good question. I can remember one bill that we might have put the salary in, but it's a great question. Senator Lyons.
No, it was another question. So finish the thought
Okay.
on that one. Sorry.
Anybody, Jim, do you mind looking into that a little bit?
Well, I've done this numerous times. And
Okay.
we put it in because it's an appropriation.
Yeah.
Right. So
So it's going to end
they
up
need money.
out there. Yep. Okay.
So yeah, you have to get the money over to the agency to fund this position. So it's just giving them that money. Obviously, they don't have to spend all of it, but
Seasoned new guy, are you okay with that? Becoming seasoned? You're sure? Okay.
I'm going to be new guy for a good year and a half, so I'm going to keep playing that.
I closed the bill out, so I can't look and see if I'm asking a stupid question again. But on the director position, did we put a definition in for or define any criteria for that
No.
person?
No, we didn't.
no.
I'm wondering if we should do that so that we end up with the person we want.
I'm more than comfortable saying something if Jim wants to do a little wordsmithing around making certain that it is indeed an expert in literacy. I'm not sure exactly how you would say it, but yeah, I could. I'm more than fine. with that.
Something about, I mean, sometimes we define it by educational degree. You could do that, but I don't know what's available out there.
Yeah, nor do
But,
I.
you
And sometimes experience is really key. And so Jim, if you don't mind taking that on and also doing a little wordsmithing and an expert in literacy or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
It wasn't a stupid question then.
It was
Okay.
not a stupid
All right, good.
question. Not at all. Senator Hooker, did you just unmute?
I was just thinking, in terms of the criterion, with expertise based on experience or degrees. I don't know. I mean,
So
there's
you could say
got to be
something,
at least a master's degree, it
Yep.
seems.
We actually did that for the manager, the prevention manager director that we have in the Department of Health. So I think we said a master's level and or experience, equivalent experience, something like that. And then with something about expertise.
Okay. Okay, Jim, do you have enough from us to come back?
Yeah.
Okay. Jim, thanks for sticking with us on all of this. I think we're getting somewhere. And if you don't mind making edits, and then we'll take a look at another draft and do a possible markup and vote tomorrow. But we'll see how it goes.
Yep.
And if you are able to do it this evening and wouldn't mind sharing a new draft with all committee members, that would be great.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Any other questions for Mr. Desmarais before he leaves? Okay, thanks so much.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, terrific. Continuing on, we are looping back now to cultural liaisons. And I think I've told everybody I do these little French exercises that Le Mans sends me every morning. I've probably told you 10 million times. And so get to practice a little Francais as I say liaison. A beer. I know she is here.
I am here, yes.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. Abir, how do you pronounce your last name?
Al-Zubaydi.
Al-Zubaydi. Well, Ms. Al-Zubaydi, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. I know that some committee members had the opportunity to visit Winooski, the school last year where you work. We've heard great things. And as I mentioned to you on the phone, we're looking at expanding cultural liaisons throughout the state. And we thought it important. We've heard again from a number of people in your district how well things are going, but we thought it very important to hear from somebody who's really on the ground and actually doing the work. So if you don't mind, I thought we might just take a minute and introduce ourselves so you know us and also where we're all from, because you do have a couple of your senators are on this call, and then we'll hear from you. So I'm Brian Campion. I represent Bennington County and Wilmington, and to my right is Senator Lyons.
How are you? It's nice to have you here. I'm Senator Ginny Lyons. I am your senator for Chittenden County, and I have been to Winooski schools many times and have high regard for the work that's going on there.
Terrific. Senator Perchlich.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm Andrew Perchlich. I represent Washington County, and I was the only member of the committee this year that was on the committee last year, and I did go up and do the tour and visit. We met with a whole group of the cultural liaison when I was there.
Well said. Before you, I don't know if you heard our conversation. I've been working on my French, so that's why committee members are giving me a hard time. Senator Hooker, please.
Hi, Avir. I'm Cheryl Hooker. I'm from Rutland County, and I've heard great things about Winooski and look forward sometime to visiting your schools.
Senator Chittenden.
Beer, I'm Thomas Chittenden. I also represent you in Chittenden County, so it's great to have you here today. Thank you for finding the time.
Wonderful. So, Ms. Al-Zubaidi, just tell us a little bit about how, if you would, how you got into this kind of work and just a little bit about the work that you do.
Hi everyone, good evening. I'm Abir Al-Zubaidi, Arabic Homeschool Liaison at Winooski School District. It's my pleasure to be here with you and give you some information about my role in the school and my friend's role. I get to this job after I volunteered for 1 year with the Burlington High School, helping some ELL students with their classes voluntarily for 3 months, and then continue back and forth with some other students. And then I applied for after school program with a JJ Flynn School, and I worked for a whole year there. And then when Winooski School have some opening for a Arabic liaison, they before have some liaison for Vietnamese, and they have for Somalis and Swahili, but none for Arabic. And then when I have a new group of high school students struggling a lot with learning English and finding a job and all of that. So they asked for Arabic homeschool liaison, and then I applied with other colleagues and I get the job, and I have been there since 2014. I worked through the district, and then mid of 2016, they stopped receiving any Arabic families or any Middle Eastern families. And then my work continue to help all ELL learner. It doesn't matter where they are from. And I'm really working on a daily basis at ELL classrooms in middle school, high school, elementary, giving support to learn some English, some math, some science, and doing some community projects, connect students to the school board, their families. This job and this role is really, really wide. I cannot just describe it by one title or by one word or even sentences. We're going really above and beyond. It's that what the human needs. I feel always like words and sentences and title is not gonna really represent what I want to do or how can I help. It's exactly like in your household, you have a lot of family members and all of them, they deserve help and they deserve to be well served. If you aren't responsible, I cannot just serve some of the students and leave others. So the idea, it's really wide, and I want to help, not just me and my team, they all love to help, and that's what we're doing. Even if it's more than it's our rules or job rules. This job basically has no rules. That's what I want you to all to know. If you really put a rules for that job, it's gonna be like a cage for us, because we're community liaison and we are inside of the school. Yes, we're going to the classroom, we're working with the kids, and then end of the day, we contacting their families and talking to them and telling them where we need support, where we want you to be with us, where we can support you. And then the families start telling us what they need. So it's a family needs, the community needs. We're going to the public agency, we're going to the housing, we're going to the real estate people, we're going to the hospital, to the doctors, we're going to the social security office. Our work is literally unlimited, and we did try and do everything to help the families, the students, the teachers, even presenting for the teachers, presenting for our culture, like what culture I'm representing, schools, teachers, principals, superintendents, people in my town, they need to know about this culture. We did like some presentation for every new staff, for the support staff, for the teachers, for the school board. We're going for the city councilor and give them some presentation about our cultures. What is the differences, how we make the gaps really small between our newcomer families. It's wide. It really was, and I don't like to put it in a cage and say, oh, this is not my job. I'm not going to do this. Not me, not anyone in my team do that.
So it sounds like it is one of those jobs that you're everywhere. Like you said, you're in the school and you're talking to parents about the child's school experience. You might be going to a doctor's office, and it's in following people and working with people regularly.
Yes. Yes.
And just so you know, we're just looking to expand this to give other towns and communities this possibility. But it is also helpful to understand how fluid and how much effort and work goes into it. Senator Hooker.
Thank you, Senator Campion. This sounds like a vocation more than a job of yours. And I'm curious to know, how many cultural liaisons do you have at Winooski? I know we mentioned it before, but I've forgotten the number. And how many students, families? I mean, you're serving all of the kids in the school. How big is the school?
For liaison, we are 6 liaisons representing different languages. Maybe 9 or 8 language is more than our number, because 2 of my friends, they talk more than 1 language. But for the school, it's the percentage of the ELL students, it's more than 50% in the school. In general, the school has elementary, middle, high school, so it's around 800, 600, that number, up and down sometimes. But most of them, they are newcomer families, or new American families, we call them.
So it looks like it may be 100 to 1 students to.
It depends on the community. Like for my community, as the Arabic community, I don't have more than like certain number of students in the school, and the families is not more than 34 families. Sometimes, like beginning of the 2018-16, we reached 50 families. Now it's less. Most of them, they leave Winooski, so the students leave Winooski. For the Bhutanese, Nepalis, we have almost 200 students. For the Somalis, we have a big number of Somalis and Swahilis speaker. Now, this year and last year, we have a Congo families coming from Kenya and other African countries. It depends on the year where we are. Sometimes we get a lot of people from Africa. Sometimes we get a lot from Asia. So it depends. But
in fact, you're helping all of those students in the whole school. You're relating not only to your new coming families, but helping the families who have been here to relate to them as well. So that it's a
yes, we became a part of ELL classes, which is a new English learning classes. And these classes teaching newcomer students English. So they have 0 English, some of them they have a medium English. But we become a part of that classroom. So we are daily routine in that classroom teaching math or English and supporting students. I don't have any Arabic students in these classes, but I support all. Yeah.
Thank you.
Senator Lyons.
Thank you. I can't imagine the work that you're doing. It's just unbelievable. So just a couple of practical questions. How's it going during the Zoom process? Are you meeting in the school at all now, or is it mostly through internet, or how's that all happening?
Yeah, for Winooski, we have some challenges.
Do you need to get more water?
I do have my water with me.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No problem.
For our school, we have some challenges because you know how is the community and low-income families.
Right.
We stopped mid-December until mid-June, January, sorry. Almost more than a month we stopped. It's all through Zoom. And then now we are back in school. For the elementary, 4 days a week. For the middle high school, it's hybrid, so 2 days by 3 days. And this is going like, right now we have a vacation, but like after vacation, we're hoping to extend it to a full week for middle high school, but it's not happening right now. But elementary, it's 4 days. Middle high school, 2 days by 3 days. 2 days in school, 3 days Zoom.
So that's difficult. I mean, especially for
ELL students.
ALL, it's just, yeah. And then
Yeah.
the other question I have is, so much of what is happening right now and linking people and connecting people with getting their vaccines and getting the food and getting the information that they need during the pandemic. Have you found that there is information that has been translated by the Department of Health or others that help you communicate some of the
Yes.
more critical information?
Yes, we basically last summer we didn't stop working. We worked through all the summer.
Wow.
So continuously, this is our first year. We didn't took off the summer. We work extra because of the need of the information need to be going to the families and to the doctors and cover all the families that they get COVID inside of the household and how we help them by phone and how the school help deliver the medicines and food and water to their doors. And we were in the middle of that connection, making a connection with the doctors and with the school nurses, with everyone, with the Vermont Department of Health, and translating a lot of alerts messages, which is called the alert. We translate it and record it on our phone and send it to the district, and the district send it to all families. It has to happen like within 3 hours or something. Is really fast. These times is all about how do you deliver the information quickly, and this is one of our way to deliver it very quickly to the families. So our director create the alert messages and send it to all liaison, translate it, record it, and send it back to her, and then they send it out to the families.
Wow.
And then we have some help from the Department of Health interpreter too. So we interpreter the beginning of the alert messages, like families, be careful. This message is very important and coming to you from blah, blah, blah. We said it the beginning, and then their translator, they translate the important information and attach it to our alert messages and going to the all Winooski families. It's a lot of work, but
It is a lot of work. It's just and detailed work. Yeah, not everyone can do that. Thank you.
Yes.
I don't know if I could have persisted all through the summer like that. It's great.
Well, it's all year around, even now, right now in vacation, and we every day, like they said, you're on vacation, this is up to you, whenever you want to answer it. But the minute you open the email, you just feel like there is a tons of work. What I'm gonna do, just to close my eyes and not do it, and then pile it up. I don't like it this way.
Yeah, I know. Join our club. We're in the same way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Any other questions? This has been incredibly helpful, very helpful, and we are all so grateful for your work and your commitment. Please know that as we continue our work on this and other issues, always feel free to reach out to us. If there is something that, we're the education committee, so as you do your work in education and you see policies or ideas that you'd like to share, please feel free to write to our committee assistant. I know you have her email, and share those ideas, and we're happy to hear from you whenever you'd like. So again, we can't thank you enough for your work, and we look forward to having more of you, if you will, throughout our state.
Thank you so much.
Great.
You.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a nice evening.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you.
That was great. Wonderful. So committee, we are going to hear from a couple of librarians. So, but why don't we, Jeannie, if you would reach out to Jason and tell him that in 10 minutes after a quick break, we will look forward to hearing from him.
Okay, I have not heard from Mr. Unruh yet.
Okay, that's fine. We can always try for tomorrow. So 10-minute break and then we'll hear from
Hello, so I see we're here for round two.
round two indeed. Thanks for being with us. We really appreciate it. Thanks for your email. Senators Perchlich and Chittenden were good to remind us that you and another librarian would still be interested, are still interested in weighing in a little bit on the bill. So I think what you were proposing was membership. So if you want to, we are getting close to finalizing the bill. So we would love for you to make your case, if you will, and see what we can do.
I will. Thank you so much for having me back again to discuss the library bill. There have been some conversations about some of the specific library services that would probably be very impactful at this current moment and going forward, and that would be for awareness for everyone that most people who are utilizing their public library, school, or academic are going to be looking to obtain them through ebooks or virtual services. And so there is a increase in demand at the current moment across our state, just like the US, where people are accessing things virtually. In the state of Vermont, we have what is known as the Green Mountain Library Consortium that does handle a large amount of ebooks for libraries that have subscribed to the consortia to receive them. And within that, part of our conversations would be, as part of the bill, to examine that usage data as well, and the entire library ecosystem, which means who is doing ebooks, what does it look like to truly have a conversation on a statewide ebook platform, because it is not exactly statewide, even though there are lots of libraries that participate, including a few schools within. But the majority of the people on GMLC, from my understanding, are a large set of public libraries that we actually have. The working group would be able to examine that as part of the conversation, as part of its services consideration. And of course, the way in my mind, how I envision the working group would be that, yes, there are going to be appointed persons, but it is also going to be a big tent style conversation. So lots of people are going to need to have conversation and awareness and understanding so that everyone is aware of what we can do going forward if we are able to do recommendations for library services. So within that, I also have the item of making sure that if we are going to begin this conversation as a group, that you have it where it is kind of controllable, because we are already going over some big topics. And within that, it is going to require some time and a lot of conversation. And one of my big items is to make sure that it doesn't become too unwieldy. So within that, even though we had made the request by our department to ensure that the 2 assistant state librarians would be included, they already would be included because they would be assisting me. I think there was just insurance to make sure that they were formally recognized that they would be assisting. But that is just more or less a simple, I would say, formality, because they would automatically be assisting as well. So within my view, the current bill is best as it stands.
Oh, well, that's great news. Senator Perchlich, please, and then Senator Hooker.
Well, what about the I think it was 1 or 2 members was recommended from the Green Mountain Consortium. Sounds like you were leading up to a pitch of supporting including them about all the good work they do, but you're thinking they're already included.
They will be a part. Yes, we will have to have conversations with them, and they will be a part of the conversations, whether it be formal or informally, because we do want to take a temperature, particularly under COVID, to see how circulation and requests of those occurred between pre-COVID and current, and then prepare to say what it looks like for the future. So they will be a part of the conversations regardless.
But you're not opposed to putting another member on there, or other than you're concerned about getting too unwieldy?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Normally, for those who meet me personally, I'm all about the more the merrier, but in certain cases, you're like, well, let's look at this workload.
Yeah. No, totally.
Senator Hooker.
So, Mr. Broughton, when you talk about your assistants being part of it automatically because they're assisting you, are you talking about them attending the meetings as your designee, something to that effect, or you're just bringing back all the notes and saying, "This is what we did, carry it out"? I don't.
Well, no, I am a hands-on person as needed. And in this case, since I am chair, they would definitely be assisting me in addition to making sure that we have the correct people at the table when we get to various projects. So it's kind of them being my extension to make sure conversations are what they should be, who's included, how do we get it, and also formalizing some of the ideas and assisting. So they're kind of like go-betweens, and they might actually head up some subcommittees if it comes to that to assist. So their role is to make sure we can get this done, whether it be formal or informal.
Okay, so then again, going back to the size of the board and stuff, are you thinking that they need to be formally recognized as part of the board? And in that case, how do we compensate them if there's
Correct. That's why I said I already knew that they would be assisting. I see this as the work that we're going to be doing, so they don't necessarily have to. I think there was an awareness to make sure that I was not going to be doing this alone, is how the bill is constructed. And I was like, oh no, the two assistant state librarians will be assisting me with this project. They already are encouraged to do so, and they are looking forward to it. So they're already part of the group, no matter what.
Yeah, okay. That sounds good. So is that clear, Senator Hooker? He'll bring them into the fold and have conversations.
Absolutely. But as far as when the board meets, they may be there sort of off to the side listening, or they may not be there at all. And
correct.
Right. Mm-hmm. Senator Lyons.
Yes, well, it also sounds like they're a little more specialized, so they might be there when the discussion happens about their particular interests. So
you are correct, Senator Lyons, because there are, in our department, there are two divisions. One is library advancement. With that, you would want to think about the things that you would see automatically on the front end of a library board, the director, services, such as youth, children, special programs. And then the other is information and access. And within that, I call it back of house, which means the processing of books, database and subscriptions, IT, and a whole host of items. So they would be navigating both of those topics that are part of the bill itself with me.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any other final questions? We do appreciate you taking the time, especially last minute like this, Mr. Broughton. And I really look forward to getting this all the way through all stages of passage with you and in getting things up and running. It's exciting.
Thank you. Just know, I will say the library community is waited with bated breath. They are following this bill. So great. I appreciate all of the considerations, and thank you for having me back for testimony.
Anytime, and please keep in contact with us.
Will do. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Can I share one silly thing?
Sure, absolutely.
In our town of Williston right now, we have one contested race, and it's for library board. That shows how important it is.
That's right. That's good. That's good. They really are,
they are
really important and also beautiful. You look across the state, they're just beautiful buildings. So
perfect.
Thank you very much. It was great to see you again.
Pleasure.
Okay, so I think unless we hear back from Ken or if anybody else wants to make any edits themselves or suggested amendments, I think we have a miscellaneous education bill that I don't want to speak. I myself feel comfortable moving tomorrow. It's a lot of good stuff in it, and I don't think particularly controversial. I think all good stuff. Senator Perchlich, please.
Can you just run down what we're putting in it again?
Sure.
I should
Yeah.
know.
No. S26, which is the library bill. Cultural liaisons, S27. And then S32, let me grab it off the floor right here, feminine hygiene products and school wellness.
But we were changing the name of feminine hygiene.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for that.
Sorry.
Please go ahead.
What are we changing it to, Senator Hooker? I forget the
Is it
proper
going to
name.
be menstrual
Menstrual
products?
products.
Yeah,
Perfect.
Senator Chittenden.
And were we going to get a fiscal note on that, or is that?
So this bill, when we are finished, it will make at least one other stop, and that will be appropriations. And the fiscal note is in the works. By the time it gets to the floor, we will have a fiscal note. Appropriations will have the fiscal note, and that's where it stands.
So three things, not the literacy. The literacy would be separate.
The literacy will go separately. Yeah. I think, we've been working on that, and I think, again, reading appropriations, I think that would be best for it to go separate. That seems to be the pro tem's, I think, interest as well. And this also, the miscellaneous, will give us an opportunity to perhaps add other things later on in the session when it comes back to us, or depending on how much time it takes. Senator Chittenden, one thing you might think about, well, actually everyone can think about, if I am not going to force anybody to do bill reports, but it would be great for when anybody is feeling passionate or interested. But Senator Chittenden just disappeared from the screen, I noticed. Perfect. I'm not the master by far, but there are people, everyone else on this committee is really good at it. So just feel when you're ready and you're jazzed about a particular topic, let me know. And I would say that, I'll leave it there. I think the miscellaneous ed bill would be kind of, for somebody new, I think it would be non-controversial, I think, pretty exciting. But I also want to be respectful of Senator Lyons, who really authored a large chunk of that. So if you want to think about that, Senator, please.
It's what works for everybody. It's fine.
Okay.
If it works better for Senator Chittenden, there's no ownership.
And I would certainly, Senator Chittenden, if you do decide to take on that, work with you as much to make sure it would be smooth sailing, which I'm sure it would be even without my help. So we'll vote on that tomorrow. We'll vote on school discipline and possibly, depending on where we end up, literacy. And then we'll get back. All those bills, none of those will be on the floor anytime soon, because I suspect approps will take, they have 2 weeks with them. They might take a couple of weeks depending on what is on their calendar. And there's part of me that even thinks literacy, if we can move it tomorrow, I'm wondering if that might have to make a stop in government ops as a new permanent. I'm looking, Senator Lyons, please.
So, I was thinking of that when Jim was here, but I was kind of mulling it over after we see the final draft. When I have a bill like that has boards or commissions in it, I simply ask Jeanette and her committee to review it on our behalf.
Great.
And it doesn't have to go to another committee.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I would just, once we have the final draft, send it to her, ask her if she would, and then she'll look at it and say, oh no, we have to bring it in or not. It's, be her decision, but she's really very helpful in that way.
Yeah. No, I found her to be really helpful in the past with these kinds of things. Okay, any questions? Jeannie, would you mind taking us off